The cursed tomb of Timur. The desert wind howled like a mournful spirit as the Soviet archaeologists descended into the darkness beneath Samarkand. The expedition, led by Professor Mikhail Petrov, had one goal: to uncover the secrets of the great Tamerlane, the conqueror whose very name evoked terror. Yet beneath layers of sand and time, his resting place remained undisturbed until now. Torchlight flickered against ancient stone as they navigated the tomb's cavernous depths. Dust motes swirled in the stale air, carrying whispers of the past. Then they saw it, the great sarcophagus, adorned with intricate carvings of battle, bloodshed, and conquest. "Whosoever opens my tomb shall unleash an invader more terrible than I." Petrov read the inscription aloud, his voice tinged with amusement. "Superstition," he scoffed. Stalin had given orders. Superstition had no place in the Soviet Union. Would you have ignored the warning, or would you have left the tomb sealed? With a nod, the workers pried open the stone lid. A gasp rippled through the chamber as the mummified remains of Tamerlane were revealed. His hollow socket seemed to glare at them in defiance, his jaw frozen in an eternal snarl. Suddenly, the torches flickered violently. A chill crept through the room, unnatural in the stifling underground air. One of the workers, Sergei, clutched his chest. I can't breathe," he wheezed. His eyes rolled back and he collapsed, lifeless. A murmur of fear spread among the team, but Petrov dismissed it as coincidence. The body was catalogued, the findings recorded, and Timur's remains transported to Moscow. 3 days later, Operation Barbarossa began. Nazi forces stormed into Soviet territory, a relentless tide of destruction. Cities burned, bodies littered the fields, and terror swept across the land. Petrov, now in Moscow, listened to the radio in stunned silence as reports of Hitler's unstoppable advance filled the airwaves. He thought of the tomb, of the warning. Had they truly unleashed something? His doubts turned to certainty when the nightmares began. Every night he saw Timur standing at the foot of his bed. Cloaked in shadows, the conqueror's eyes burned with ancient fury. He did not speak, yet his voice filled Petrov's skull like an unholy whisper. "You have broken the seal. You have doomed them all. What would you do if you woke up to a vengeful spirit at the foot of your bed?" Petrov awoke each time drenched in sweat, gasping for air. He wasn't the only one. Across the expedition, those who had touched Timur's remains suffered grisly fates. One died in a fire, another was struck down by a sudden illness. One man clawed his own eyes out, raving about armies of the dead marching in the night. Petrov could bear it no longer. He petitioned the Soviet authorities to return Timur's remains to his tomb. After weeks of relentless insistence, and as the war turned against them, his request was granted. In December 1942, under strict secrecy, Timur's bones were transported back to Samarkand. As they descended into the tomb once more, a silence hung over them, heavy and expectant. The bones were placed back into the sarcophagus, the lid sealed once more. That night, Petrov dreamed of Timur for the last time. The conqueror stood tall, his form no longer shadowed, his expression calm. Balance has been restored. Days later, the tides of war shifted. The Soviet counteroffensive at Stalingrad began, marking the slow but certain fall of Hitler's forces. Petrov never spoke of it again, but he knew the truth. Some doors are not meant to be opened. Some tombs should never be disturbed. Do you believe in ancient curses, or was it all just coincidence?